So we're joining in progress in the middle of the fight while we're looking for some hot bear action. Oops. My cooldown didn't line up very well now, did it? But we are on the hunt for some hot-looking bears to get their blood. I don't make this stuff up, okay? That's what the quest text says, winter spring blood sample. And you gotta get it from the hot bears around here. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to stop and get everything in our way. Just means we gotta find the hot bears. Now, but while we're doing that, and in light of yet another Supreme Court ruling, I'm going to teach you some history. Okay, this is from today. They took my bear. How dare they? That was my hot bear, not yours. Now, today in history, the LGBT community, again, had enough of police brutality. Again. Police honey traps. Again. And had a full-on riot. Again. This one is extremely complicated, somewhat disturbing, and it shows you just how history rhymes. And please note that parts of this have been heavily redacted in order to protect these parents' sensitive sensitivities. So, after the Second World War and the liberation of the camps, people who were gay didn't get freedom, okay? They got jail. They traded literally one camp for another camp. So, I mean, you may have been treated just slightly better at camp number 2 compared to camp number 1, but it's still a dang camp. And there's a hot bear, but it's still a dang camp. They didn't get an apology until most of them passed away, because it must have been a hefty embarrassment from the German government after all that time knowing that some people never got freedom after the camps got liberated. Remember that. And we're going to begin our history trek right after World War II and heading into the 1950s, well before Stonewall became a household name. Now, Stonewall was a household name, but it was a whole different reason. It was a whole different Stonewall. That was a Civil War guy. And is there a node there? I think it looks like yellow dot. Yeah, there is. Let's go get it. Okay. Now, so during this era, we saw the specter of communism. Communism. That specter was such a specter that we had to fight it. Oh, we had to fight this specter. It was so terrible. And by that I mean, quote, anything that isn't redacted is communist. See, I saved you from being offended. Wasn't that nice of me to save you from being offended? But now, the LGBT community at the time was branded vulnerable to communist influences by the United States State Department on the grounds that they were susceptible to blackmail plots. Well, you remember right after World War II, gay people traded one camp for the other, right? Yeah. They faced being fired, thrown in jail for being outed. Yeah, scary thought, isn't it? Now, imagine for a minute that you're heterosexual. Ooh, I don't know if I can imagine that. and you got thrown in jail or put in the camp, starvation camp, because you were heterosexual. That's what happened. Yep, that's what happened. Okay, so yeah, blackmail would likely work on someone in the LGBT community at this time. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Huh. Go sabotage the U.S. government or we're gonna tell them you're gay. Literally. And as a natural consequence, You didn't go to resort prison. Yeah, this was still during the time that there were resort prisons and then pound me in the you-know-what prison. You didn't go to that. You didn't go to the happy prison. You went to the terrible one. Now, so when the government makes you willing to throw you into a cage over something, yeah, you're very easily blackmailed. And thank heavens I got the last of those stupid Moro grains. Yeah, but yeah. I really hate that Yeti, and I'm going to get you out of my way. But if I grab that Yeti, I'm going to get... No. Bad Yeti. Want that hot bear, not a Yeti. Not a Yeti. Wouldn't that be a really tall bear in bear lingo? Is that a Yeti? I don't know. Okay, now, of course, the more logical option to this, okay, is to reconsider every single decision you've made up to this point, including throwing people into a cage. Well, but it wouldn't give a scapegoat for the evils of communism. I mean, someone has to be thrown into a cage. Somebody has got to be thrown into a cage because of communism. Hi. Enraged chicken. Now, but wait, it gets even better, okay? Gets even way better. You're never alone as a member of this community back then. No, you weren't. And all you little Generation Alpha people and Generation and Gen Zers that never understood the whole underground points, here you go. You were stalked by the same government that made and or kept being LGBT illegal. Now you understand why yesterday's big Donald Trump Supreme Court ruling should in fact scare you. It should scare you to death. You know, it should absolutely. If you are gay right now in the United States after yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, you should be scared to death. I don't care. Because you're a prime candidate for being declared a non-citizen. We are in danger of being declared non-citizens. You let that sink in a minute. Now, you were stalked. There was a good chance the FBI knew at least who you were, where you hung out, and your friends. There was a very good chance of this. Because again, you were susceptible to communist influences because it was illegal and you got thrown into a cage, so of course blackmail is going to work. How nice, isn't it? Somebody keeps getting on my hot bears. Now, J. Edgar Hoover may have read it personally, maybe while wearing women's clothing. Yeah, that's been... that's been a constant. That's been a constant in any conspiracy circle about J. Edgar Hoover. Now, the post office certainly knew, and they kept a file on you. They kept your name on the naughty list. I'm not making this up. I am not making that up at all. They kept your name on a list for getting gay mail. Okay? You got a magazine. You see, y'all living in the site that rhymes with corn hub era. Oh, by the way, you got to age verify there too. Now, okay. Now, so while we're speaking in gay bars, the whole we know where you hang out thing. Huh. That whole thing. I just don't know. I'm not lucking out with these bears. So they were illegal too. They were routinely raided because drinking while gay was a crime. It results in jail, and it's not happy jail, But imagine if you're straight and not being allowed to go to your bar. That's what happened. That's history, people. So they were routinely raided, and lots of drinking while gay arrests were made. The mafia ran the bars because they were the only ones that really weren't afraid of having those raids happen. Take that for what you want also. You can read a piece of some historical fiction. It's called Stuck Rubber Baby. Go find it. Go find it. I still have my soft cover from when it first came out. So remember all this information for each of the 3 upcoming riots. Are you ready? So, with all of this over-the-top tension already present and me trying to find some hot bears in winter spring, let's go to sometime in May 1959. The record of the exact date was lost. And I don't know why. Okay, this is at a place called Cooper's Donut. 2 police officers walk into a Cooper's Donut. No, I'm not making this up. They really did. And they asked for identification from the LGBT people that were there, because this Cooper's Donut in Los Angeles was right by 2 gay bars. Oh yeah, those were illegal too. I guess they didn't get to raid them in time, right? And this was perfectly normal, perfectly legal to arrest gay people. And it may come back because the Supreme Court has given someone dictatorial powers. Excuse me. So, 2 drag queens, 2 male nice gentlemen, and a 5th one. And that 5th boy there, I think, was just looking for a good old time. Come here, bear. Don't get that yet. I got it anyway. There were 2 completely different species. But I guess we're just going to have a threesome here. And a 5th one is just looking for a good time. They got arrested. While the arrested started to protest because there was simply no way in redacted that 5 people were going to fit inside the back of a police car. Absolutely not. Nobody knows who protested, okay? And considering at the time there were quite severe consequences for being gay, nobody's going to name names. We ain't naming names. The onlookers, who were more than likely members of the same community, the LGBT community, agreed that 5 people can't fit in the back of a police car, single police car. Felt like the police were in the wrong here and immediately entered the Grand Theft Auto riot sheet. Coffee, donuts, and assorted trash were thrown at the police until they fled, and I still have not gotten a single one of these blood samples. I guess I'm going to be grinding to 60 here. The riot, coffee, donuts, and they were thrown at police until they fled. The riot grew with both rioters and celebrants. People were actually celebrating the fact that we're not taking it anymore. And, you leave us alone. That's what was requested. Okay, let's head back up this way. We'll hit the Night Elf post while we're here. Right. So, it grew. The area was cordoned off by the police. Several arrests were made because they were rioting, not because they were gay this time. Just being gay happened to be a pleasant side effect of their arrests, right? So, now, that's about all the information that I've got on the Cooper's Donut one. It's very hazy. Details are just extremely hazy. I'm sorry. So we're going to fast forward now to August of 1966. Again, exact dates lost. It was lost. It could have been from a fire. It could have been from anything. Okay, but there's not a whole lot of record on this. So August 1966 at Compton's Cafeteria, Cooper's Donut 2.0. In the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. I am not making this up. So we don't know the exact day. There was no media coverage. The police records don't exist anymore. And back then, if you were gay and made it, you were only in the media for negative attention. Again, because someone has to be thrown into a cage for the specter of communism. So many people who were transgender hung out at this place, at Compton's Cafeteria. And Many of them were nice ladies, because trans people, just like the rest of the LGBT population, weren't really considered redacted. Sorry, I don't want to offend anybody's sensitivities by saying that at the time gay people were not believed to be human. Oh, goodness, I'm so sorry. Oh, how terrible of me. Being the T part of the LGBT community meant you were even less than a redacted. Oh. Hi. Oh, well, what a nice breadcrumb. Oh, highborn relics, okay. And we'll do them too. We'll do it all. We'll do it all today. Ha 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 ha. So there's vendor right here. Okay. Now, so the cafeteria staff routinely called the police. This was normal. Absolutely, utterly normal. And they did it on this day too. After trying to arrest a trans woman, she threw, I'm assuming hot coffee, right at that cop. So down, left, up, left, A, right trigger, right button, left button. Here we go again. That was the riot sheet, by the way. Cooper's Donut 2.0 has started at Compton's Cafeteria. The plate glass window got smashed. That poor plate glass window. Right. Let's just follow along this road. There seems to be a lot more hot bears along the road here. So it's begun. The plate glass window got smashed. Everything a trans woman could find to throw at a police officer got thrown. A police car was damaged, and a newsstand was actually burned to the ground. This is what happens when people have had enough and they can't do anything else because there are no legal recourses. Remember that. Rioting is the last recourse that nobody really wants to do. But the LGBT community was left with no other choice. The next day, more came to demonstrate because Compton's Cafeteria said, "No gays allowed." So, but back then it would have said no gays, not LGBT. Sorry about that. But and which led to down, left, up, left, A, right trigger, right button, left trigger, left button. Here we go with Cooper's Donut 2.1. The new plate glass window at Compton's got smashed. As a postscript to this, because again, records are really shoddy on this, and Compton's Cafeteria never truly recovered. Okay, it never did, and it closed in 1972. So, not very far down the road. Because, 1966 to 72. So, they had 6 more years, and they floundered along those 6 years, and then finally closed. Okay, that's basically what happened here. Gimme. Now, so after all of this tension, we had 2.1 full-scale Cooper Donut level rioting. So we had 2.1 full-on riots in California, and guess what? You would think the moral of the story would be, hey, let's try to rethink how people are treated. No. Nope. And by rethink, I mean New York City saying, hold my beer. And by hold my beer, I mean, in the early morning of June 28th, 1969, nearly 3 years after Compton's Cafeteria, which is Cooper's Donut 2.0 and 2.1, and 10 years after Cooper's Donut 1.0. The New York City Police Department, holy cow, I didn't know that would happen. Alright, let's get you lined up here. I'm gonna have to pop a potion. Uh-oh. Hey, go here. Now, so the New York City Police Department raided this bar called the Stonewall Inn. Because they were guilty of drinking while gay. I mean, what a terrible crime, right? Drinking while gay. How dare they? Now, I'm not sure which number raid it was. I'm just not sure. But the LGBT community has said this was going to be the last time. Come on. Dang it. Now, reports vary on the woman who started this riot, but she simply said, "Why don't you guys do something?" She was then thrown into the paddy wagons, and down, left, up, left, A, right trigger, left trigger, left trigger, left button. Police lost control, and Cooper's Donut 3.0 was on. Let's eat and drink a minute here. The handcuffed people got away, and so did the police. Remember that they're still handcuffed for later. And yeah, I have to read off of my what I wrote, okay? I'm reading what I wrote before. The police had beer cans thrown at them. And by the way, normally I'm not. Normally I'm more unscripted. I have been AI-free since before 2003. The police had beer cans thrown at them, which prompted the police to back the people up into a pile of bricks. Yep. Meanwhile, 10 police, including 2 female police officers, because you have to do gender testing. Right? I mean, they could be communists under there. Heavens. They barricaded themselves, a folk singer named Dave Von Ronk, Village Voice reporter Howard Smith, and some of these arrested people. You know, they're in there for their own protection, and they were still arrested inside the Stonewall. We'll come back to that in a minute. There's a lot we're going to come back to. Now, as anybody can tell you, as I'm trying to get set up here, the last thing you want to do with an angry mob is to push them back into a pile of bricks, right? But that's what the police officers did. Bricks got thrown at the Stonewall. Sorry, I needed my coffee there. Bricks got thrown at the Stonewall. I also don't do cutaways like these people on YouTube do. People just have a drink of your dang coffee and go on, or just cough and go on. Bricks got thrown at the Stonewall because someone accused them of not doing their mafia payouts to the police in order to leave them alone. Okay. Now, let's do it. There we go. And now we're going to have to do a man of management one, do rank 1 Holy Shield, okay? Bricks got thrown into the bar because the LGBT community had finally had enough. Oops. I overdid that one. That's okay. It's okay. In addition to bricks, garbage cans, regular and fiery garbage, bottles, rocks, a parking meter. Oh my god. Okay. I'm done. I didn't know that was surprised me. Oh gosh, I wouldn't survive on the hardcore realm, would I? That would have been character delete at level 58. Man, imagine that, going all the way up that far and then can't go any further, right? Now, so remember those people from earlier? The ones that were trapped in the Stonewall, the gender checker female cops and everybody else, and including the people that were arrested. Yeah. The door flew open, according to Wikipedia, and those 10 cops were facing the angry mob again. Once again, weapons were pulled, and the gay men involved just didn't seem to care. A man named Howard Smith, remember that name for later too, put a wrench in his pants, not knowing if he needed to use it against the rioters or the police for his own safety. Is that a wrench in your pocket, or are you happy to see me? Oh, sorry, parents, that may have indoctrinated your child. Oh my goodness, how terrible of me. If teachers really wanted to indoctrinate your kid, they would probably make sure they bathe every day or put on deodorant. Actually do their classwork. What else could we indoctrinate your child on? Brushing their teeth. In all honesty, brushing your teeth. Ugh. Things like that. But it's okay. We're going. They finally made it into the Stonewall bar. Let me see here. I need you and you. I'm redone. Let's drink. Okay. So then there was a fire in the bar as somebody poured lighter fluid onto the bar, and lit something. Who knows? Police tried to put it out using a fire hose, so there was no pressure. So in this case, the angry mob turned into an angry mob in a wet t-shirt contest. The police were humiliated and decided they can't be humiliated. Now, but first, before we even come back to the Stonewall, we're going to head over to the Women's House of Detention that was nearby. A second riot took place in that prison in support of the Stonewall. Women and trans-masculine people were setting fire. They were not my words, okay? They were setting fire to everything and throwing stuff into the street. Okay, this prison was weirdly designed, where they could see right out onto the street from the windows, and they could easily reach out and talk to people and all that. The prison was designed interestingly, okay? It was designed very interestingly. The chants of gay rights echoed through the halls. Was enough? Well, here comes the Tactical Patrol Force in full riot garb and in phalanx formation. This can be countered by a move called an oblique order, but this was the late 1960s. We didn't have access to classical battle tactics online, so it didn't really go well. It didn't really go as you'd think, right? You can't counter if you don't know the counter. A gentleman named Bob Kohler, another coffee. See, I didn't cut away. Who was born and raised in Queens. I am not making this up. Put it this way about the Tactical Patrol Force. Quote, this is his words, not mine. I had been in enough riots to know the fun was over. The cops were totally humiliated. This never ever happened. They were angrier than I guess they had ever been because everybody else had rioted. But the fairies were not supposed to riot. No group had ever forced cops to retreat before. Let that settle in. So the anger was just enormous. They wanted to kill. Multiple fights erupted. This is back to me, by the way. I'm out of the quote. Multiple fights erupted with what were then termed transvestites. Sorry, their term, not mine. It didn't likely matter if you were transgender or not. This was the 60s. A transvestite was the definition of it was a guy in a dress, and they didn't care if you were a trans woman or not. They would still call you a guy in a dress. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to Generation Z and Generation Alpha if I upset your sensitivities. but you need to know your history too. Meanwhile, the rest of the group were in a chorus line. Yay. And they were singing a parody of Ta-ra-ra-boom-de-ay. Yeah, it really didn't go well. The chorus line had the redacted beat out of them, probably by the Tactical Patrol Force, but I'm not sure. This kept going until repositioning. Sorry. See, no cutaway. No cutaway. Sorry. It kept going until 4 a.m. New York time. Marsha P. Johnson came to the Stonewall at around 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 a.m. after the start of the riots. She's noted as being with... I'm going to help that hunter out. There you go, sweetie. Now, she was being with Zazu Nova and Jackie Harmona in the pushback against the police. Okay, so there was very definite pushback. Cars were now overturned as the rioters tried to block off Christopher Street. Okay, they blocked it off. Move. Okay. I want to get rid of you first, I think. Police were confused by all of the twisting alleyways, but not the gay people. They knew that area. The Stonewall was trashed and partly burnt. This was pretty much the end of night 1. Yes, there is a Cooper's Donut 3.1. The newspapers covered night 1 in what must have been a stop the presses moment. Redacted said this must have been the fault of those evil students for democratic society, or those awful, awful Black Panthers, or by a gay police officer who got miffed at his boyfriend. I am not making this up. This was the press at the time. Really? It really was. Now, all day, still June 28th. You gotta remember that because it started very early in the morning. This riot happened in the early a.m. The bar was frequented and had graffiti sprayed on it. Drag power, support gay power, and legalize gay bars were noted by Wikipedia, along with several not so pleasant remarks about the police. I will spare you the not so pleasant remarks about the police, okay? Because I don't want to upset your sensitive sensitivities when you go, back the blue, and then you cheered when the January 6th people got pardoned. Because, yeah, you're just really that much of a moron. You don't back the blue at all. None of y'all do. Sheesh. None of you back the blue, or else you would have been you would have taken to the streets the moment January 6th people got out. That evening, still June 28th, thousands came to the Stonewall, swarming the streets. This time, rioters got to buses and cars, surrounding them and making them admit to either being gay or supporting the rioters. Interesting, isn't it? How this is getting an interesting riot time now, isn't it? Marsha Johnson climbed a street lamp, bashed a heavy bag into a police car, smashing the windows out of it. Now, police were there, of course. They were arresting anybody that they could because rioting is illegal. Even though it is the last recourse of a people downtrodden, they had that, you gotta do it. The crowd actually recaptured the arrested, though, as they were being arrested. They dragged them back out. Fires were set, rioting happened again, and things calmed down by 4 a.m. again. Now, so after all this, Howard Smith, hey, remember that boy? Do you remember him? Now, I'm going to get rid of you before I try for that last piece, because I know what's going to happen. No, bad puppy. Now, Howard Smith, remember him? And Lucian Truscott. I know, I wasted Holy Shield. I shouldn't have done that. Silly me. And Lucian Truscott wrote in the Village. See, when I'm reading, I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing, and I have to, when I do a stun to try to keep myself reading a little bit, that's what happens. Wrote in the Village Voice in the Wednesday edition, an article so vile that I cannot even quote it without heavy redactions. So parents, I'm sure you want your child to read that one, right? Because, you know, it's against gay people, so I'm sure you want your child baby to read that. Go get it. Down, left, up, left, A, right trigger, right button, left trigger, left button. An angry mob came down, threatened to burn down the Village Voice. And Cooper Donut 3.2 begins. Stores were looted. A few arrests took place. And somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people were there. Okay, somewhere around that. And then we'll run like mad right there. Hurry. Run. 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 Yep. Stores were looted, a few arrests took place. Somewhere between like 500 and 1,000 people participated in this. Okay, it only lasted about an hour this time. But the LGBT community was simply sick of being a punching bag. Post-Stonewall, we have the start of the decriminalizing of the LGBT community. But of course, redacted, and the police didn't like anyone but redacted having rights. So it took some time, and the horrifying impaling death. Let me say that again. And the horrifying impaling death of Diego Vinales, whose impaling death was a direct result of a police raid in a gay bar. They didn't learn their lesson yet. Did I mention he had a horrible impaling death? And we know Diego was impaled and died while impaled. His impaling was plastered. Impaling was plastered all over the New York Daily News. June 28th, 1970 was then called Christopher Street Liberation Day. I did it again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasted a Holy Shield thing again. Hate doing that. So June 28th, 1970 was then called Christopher Street Liberation Day by demonstrators in New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago, which eventually morphs into an entire Pride Month. And it begins our very, very long march to redacted. And with that, I'm probably gonna let y'all go here. Where do I turn in that quest? Wait a minute. Not the key ring, good heavens. I tried to get to the quest log. Alright, there we go. Where do I take this to? Or do I have to combine them first? I think I have to combine them first, don't I? Nope. I just have to bring them. Oh, I gotta go to EP. Oopsie. Okay. Well, it's near the North Pass Tower in the northern part. Well, we'll just have to warp out there and do it. So we'll warp out there and head that way, and it's alright. We'll do that another day. But for today's news and Warcraft, this is Turkey Tencha, and I wish you a great day and great gaming. And I hope you at least learned a little bit about our history. Goodbye, everybody.